Hey everybody, welcome back to the Keep It Simple podcast. If you've caught this, you're with us for episode 30. This is actually the last episode in season 1, and in many ways I feel like we have saved the best for last. My very dear friend, my good friend, Mike Horn is on for episode 30. Many of you from the old guard know Mike, will recognize Mike. A lot of you who may be new kind of to what we're up to, our story goes way back, and we'll talk through some of that. But right now Mike is living in Atlanta, Georgia. He's working for a freight forwarding company, and he's really in charge of exports and air freight. He works to help get exported goods overseas in economical ways. He's a man of many talents. He is a podcast host himself. We'll talk about that. He is a genius, really funny stand-up comic. He's on a gigantic health journey right now, and is just overall an incredible human being. Mike makes every environment he's in better. So, Mike, thank you for coming on, and welcome to the podcast, brother.
Thank you. What an intro. I feel like I should be coming out of a tunnel, or like you just introduced me to the big fight.
Yeah.
The Rolling Thunder. Yeah.
It's true. Every bit's true.
Yeah, that was a lot. Thanks, man. Yeah, no, it's really cool. I didn't realize this was your last episode of the season. That feels even extra special. So
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is great to see you. It's great to see you and everybody. I've looked, like I said, I told you I looked through the feed, and just seeing some familiar names was just awesome. Yeah. So I'm really thankful that you had me.
Yeah, amen, man. So I guess we can start. So you look incredible.
Thank you.
You really do look so great. So let's just start there. Like this most recent health transformation has staying power. I mean, you've been in the trenches for quite a while now. What are you doing? How have you done it? What timeline have you been on? It's a great place to start.
Yeah, I mean, I've lost 170 pounds.
Wow.
It's insane.
Congratulations.
My third time.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'm the biggest difference this third time, honestly, and he's about to walk out. He's going for a bike ride, but it's my roommate and my best friend, Tank Smith. This time was different because I had a partner the whole time, and It started with me and him just feeling sick from just food and not moving and just not being happy, honestly. So the biggest thing we did was we just got up and started walking, and we started talking to each other. We started swimming together, and we started keeping each other accountable, and we started cooking together. So but the details about like what I'm actually doing, I mean, the biggest thing is I like to eat as much as I can for the least calories possible. So that's kind of my thing. And I love to run. I swam. I love to lift weights. I work out. I try not to do anything too extreme. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But 170 pounds. I'm super hungry.
Pounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3 times you've done that then.
Yeah, this is my third time. I'd say over the last, when I was a sophomore in college was when I started my first journey.
Wow.
And I was up to like 420 at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say in the last maybe 12 years, I've done that. Yeah, I'd lose the weight, and then maybe some life event happens or something really, for lack of a better word, triggering happens, and I kind of just stop, and it happens over like 2 years where you kind of gain a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this time feels different.
So how much, you talked about Tank, how much is that? Because a gigantic piece of the work that we do with the project is about community. It's mm-hmm. about, not ending up on an island alone, everybody together, kind of faith, family, friends, community. Do you think that has been the major difference in this time and the other two?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. That and, having not just him, but other people
Yeah.
involved too. I tend to isolate. That is kind of like how I just operate.
Yeah.
Um, so having that like accountability, and this time I was like working in an office. I had to go into an office every day and work with these people. And that helps too, it's having people that you want to make proud, makes a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
you and Tank, through this journey, you started a podcast, Shirts in the Pool.
shirts in the pool, do you get it?
Yeah, I get it. It's a genius. Such a great name. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, shirts in the pool. We started that maybe halfway through the first year, as we started like developing it and talking about where we kind of wanted to just record our journey and like our experience with the weight loss. For Tank, this was something really new for him. He had never
Okay.
tried to lose weight. He's
Okay.
lost about 100 pounds himself.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we did that together. We both do comedy, and we have like a really tight friendship. So it was cool starting this like podcast where we could talk about. One of the things I say is like weight loss. It's easy for me to show you a before and after picture. Like I can show you me and my biggest. I can show you now, and it makes it seem like it's just a straight line, but it's actually really up and down. It's hard, and a lot of fitness culture, fitness industry, what you see on social media, things like that. It's very like get after it. You're gonna, and it's just so much harder and not realistic for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just like to have fun and talk
Yeah.
about it. So
So I haven't listened to the podcast. I listened really faithfully, and then you took, I guess, summer break maybe is
yeah,
when
we've taken a few breaks. Yeah, we are.
coming back from that. I didn't get current, but it was
It's
so
okay.
well done. I mean, you
Oh,
had
thanks, man.
like a buttery female voice doing the intros, and like it was really, really well done.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a friend of Tank's. He used to manage like bands and stuff, and we got him to like do the music for us. And because one thing I was just like, we're gonna do it, and
Yeah.
and he spends a lot of time editing it, making it like it sounds like we just come off, but man, we'll set the table over and over, being like that was dumb, and we'll say it again. And we'll say it until we get it right.
Yeah.
But other times, it's also like what's spontaneous that's great about it. So
Yeah, and that's what. So in our work here, from the very beginning of this round, this is the third reiteration of this, and
Cool.
it's like the only way that has
Congrats.
staying power. Yeah, thanks. The only way that this has staying power for me is if it's not polished, if there is no back end
Yeah.
edit, if it's raw, which is kind of in line with kind of our brand anyway.
Keep it
The
simple.
authenticity and the transparency, and so there are straight up episodes where we just lose complete connection, and there's gaps, and it comes back, and
I love that.
somehow people still listen, but
Yeah.
it makes folks nervous to come on a podcast with no show notes and no real talking points.
Totally. I mean, even I reached out. Yeah. And yeah, I get that.
But the flip side of that that's pretty cool is, and we've heard this from a lot of folks, is like it's two buddies catching up and the rest of the world gets to eavesdrop. And so there are parts and pieces of that I think have some value. But so Shirts in the Pool, and then you're back into comedy. Are you doing some stand up? I know. Are you doing North Carolina and Atlanta, or predominantly Atlanta? Or?
Yeah, I'm really right now. You could really just say I'm like getting my toes in the water. I'm introducing myself to like Atlanta comedy scene. It's a huge scene. It's really well developed. There's a lot of funny people that are really successful and doing great stuff. So right now I'm sort of just kind of like writing new material, going out. I've been lucky to do like workshops and laugh labs with like Lace Larrabee. And yeah, so I love stand up. Tank likes to joke that I should forgive stand up and do it again. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I took about, when the pandemic happened, there really wasn't much comedy. So I kind of shut the book on it or closed the door on it. And it's starting to come back. I think I'm still pretty funny. So
Yeah,
sometimes.
you are really funny. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the clips
But
that you send are the stuff that I get to see is hilarious. Actually,
appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
love it.
so our story, you and I crossed paths at Hinton at the Hinton Rural
Mhm.
Life Center.
Yeah.
I don't even know what age I mean, I know you were like college. What?
Yeah, I was probably right. I was probably 21 years old. Yeah.
21, man.
Because Ashley was that year and Matt, and so that was like my third time. Yeah, I want to say I was like 21, maybe 20. Yeah, very young. Can you imagine?
It cut out. I'm sorry. I heard you
It's
say.
okay.
I heard you say Ashley was that year and Matt, and then it cut out. I apologize.
Hmm. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, that makes me think. Yeah, I was about 20, 21 years old that year.
Yeah.
It was like my third time at Hinton. I came back. Yeah, I was
Okay.
21. Yeah, I came back after a year hiatus, and that was
And
like
that
my
was our
favorite year, I
first
think.
year there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking about it right before we came on air. I look back through memories, and think through some of those times. And you had such a good point. It seems like a whole different life ago, or maybe 2 or 3 lives ago. It doesn't seem real in some regards. And but the relationships were easy. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like. I mean that you all and our group, the group from Missouri, which is now where we live, which is kind of trippy.
Yeah.
All of those relationships were just easy. I mean, it seemed very very natural to me. So that first summer, had a ball. Kept in touch. The next summer, was back. How many summers were you on staff there that we were there? Do you recall that?
I want to say maybe maybe just 2. Yeah.
2.
That next summer was the last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That was my last summer.
That's when Matt got sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Matt Butler, man, never met a person that could slap an air bass the way that guy could.
Vans and bass and music. What a great guy.
He really
I
was.
love him. I miss him, and that was maybe that's why I don't think about Hinton as much,
Yeah.
But that was such a big part of it. And
Yeah.
Hinton, I mean, that's why his name's on that tool shed now. So
Yes. Yeah, and that Caroline and I talked a little bit about Matt. He was one of those guys that made an impression. I mean,
Mhm.
when you were around him, he was a giver. He was always trying to find the good in people and circumstances, and just incredibly gracious, man, and
yeah,
and a fighter. He had that. He was the one that helped me begin to understand that kindness does not equal weakness. Somebody can
he
be
was a
kind
gentle person.
and strong at the same time. But never a time that I'm flipping through in the fall and Washington Redskins football is on that I don't think of Matt
I know.
and smile.
Yeah.
Or Braves baseball. I guess they've still got. Have they got? I mean, at one time they had a food ministry in his name. They had a reading, something to do with libraries and books, and some type of reading program in Clay County in his name or honor. I don't know if any of that is still going. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. I had no idea. That's awesome.
I know they've got a lot of.
I know, like, with his family being involved. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, it cut off a little. But with his family being like his family, everyone knows them. They teach.
Yeah.
And so involved with the church. I mean, Matt Butler, everybody knows Matt Butler up there.
Yeah.
It's a small town, and he's one of those guys that, like, his personality was as big as he was. It's like or his reputation.
Yeah.
And I miss, like, we would. for a while, like, because he couldn't really be out in the sun so much after a while, and we would do the trips, like go pick up tools, pick up lumber, deliver it. You know, it felt like playing hooky sometimes with him, and I loved it. Yeah, I mean, I loved just driving around mountains, and in some ways he was already like 60 years. Like, he would have a story about this and this and this, and it was great, and I learned a lot about where I live from him. You know,
yeah,
and and just music and comedy and all those things and all those conversations, and that's what I think about, you know, with Hinton, and those, like you said, the community and those connections, and those are the people that make that place special.
Yeah, no kidding, man. And you can't mention Hinton without like Julia Buckner.
Yeah.
You know, Julia was.
Yeah, I haven't heard.
Me either.
Yeah, but she was a mentor, and you know, Julia kept that place going, in an unbelievable, you know,
Yes.
it just took guts, and it took grit, and it took all that, and she had it, and that was very formative for me. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
if she ever heard this, like, yeah, I mean, I am super grateful for that time. You know, I learned how to build a porch and decks and ramps, and I was basically what Julia Buckner gave to me, and some of the only things I received from the church before that point too, and that is trust. Like, Julia gave, I'm a new kid out of high school. I just graduated. I'm 18 years old. I've been 18 years old for 2 months, you know, and or no, I think I was 17 when I started. So, and to trust a 17-year-old with like keys to a truck and like a team of individuals, you know, youth paying people and customers and adults, that, you know, it shows a lot to me, and that was loyalty for me, and that created just the foundation of like what I loved about that place so much. I mean, it created like I was sold for life after Julia Buckner, and it shows also too like what her mission of that place was, and how our ideals about youth ministry and things like work together, which was, you know, trusting youth to get it done. You know, she made sure everyone used a skill saw. She made sure whether you were, you know, I saw children in first grade use a skill saw. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it was safe, but there was no bias against who could do what on the website, and that was what was cool.
Yeah, and Julia was there when I went as a student.
That's right. I forgot.
I don't know to what regard. I mean, I don't know at what level she was on staff and working around there. She was probably a summer staffer. I don't know. But like when I show up there 20 plus years later, and there's Julia.
That's insane.
And she had the sauce, dude. She was the sauce. She was Clay County. Like, she knew Clay County and the surrounding areas. Her heart was with Appalachia, and everything kind of flowed down from that heart, that deep, abiding love for Clay County and those people.
Yeah. She always made sure to tell everybody that this was her community too, and like that she appreciated, like, you know, people working in it.
But all of y'all, I mean, when you look back, and because we went for years, I mean, we went for a decade or so, me as an adult leader taking groups, and those first few years were just special. I mean, they were so freaking special time, and to bond over Dave, me and you and Matt. With Dave and just really, really cool times. So then, outside of that, I remember we were talking right before we came on about slip and slide kickball in the Meeks yard, when the three of you came down. You had your summer week off and came down, hung out, and the Freemans. You can't, you know, those trips y'all were staying at the Freemans, and but then even beyond that, like I remember, a few years later, I think you were um, maybe in Wilmington, but it was our Hinton week, and you came over to share a meal with us and just to hang out.
Yeah.
Or meeting in Atlanta for Dave's shows. I was telling you, one of my most favorite pictures, if I was savvy enough, I could put it on the screen, but one of my most favorite pictures of us, we're at a Dave show sitting on the lawn at Lakewood, and you're just kicked back, and I got my head on your shoulder, and it's kind of a snapshot of our friendship in my mind anyway, and so just really cool through the years to, even though physically we're not in the same space very often, to constantly keep tabs, to know kind of the general what's up, where you are, what's going on, and those type things.
I mean, you've always been someone that, like, if, I've called you before just at points where I'm honestly maybe manic or just very burdened or just, but you're still someone that I'm like, I'm going to call and talk to because I know that's like a safe person.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's because of that time,
Yeah.
And, I think that's what makes that time like special is because that's like where all that started.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And even from that, to keep up with folks, where are they? What are they up to? I'm not on social media anymore, so I have kind of lost touch with Ashley, but I know she was in Cleveland the last that I heard. So anyhow, yeah, cool. So help me remember. You were like was it a Dude Perfect episode? What were you, the Domino's guy?
I can't say a ton about this, but I was on an episode of Mr. Beast. Yeah,
Mr. Beast. Okay.
So 24 hours on top. I can't say this. It was 24 hours on top of a mountain, and I play a pizza guy who climbs the mountain to deliver it to him, and that's my big shot to fame, baby. I mean, it does have like 120 million views or something like that, and all the comments loved me. So, the pizza guy.
That was the thing that blew my mind. You sent me the link. Of course, I'd never heard of Mr. Beast. I have no clue. I'm an old man, right? But you sent me, and you're like, "Hey, dude, I'm excited to check this out. I'm on this thing," and I'm like, "Okay." So I open it. I watch everything you send me, and so I open it, and at that time it had like freaking, I don't even remember, but double-digit million of views. And I'm like, what in the world has Mike gotten into now? So it was great, though. It was really funny.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was a great opportunity. And, I was doing stand-up comedy in Raleigh at the time, and that's kind of how I got hooked up with that. And it was really cool. He let me participate in that video.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's... what a weird, even now, like sometimes I'll look at it and just like, oh my gosh, like how did, I mean, for just that week or so, basically until the next Mr. Beast video came out, I felt like just a rock star.
Yeah.
But, I was just like, hey, you want a picture with me, kid? But they didn't.
So what, you said you can't talk about it. Did y'all get cross with that or?
No, it's just we do sign like non-disclosure agreements and stuff like that. Yeah, gotcha. I mean, it's like you might as well be working on like a Marvel superhero movie half the time. Really? I mean, it's hardcore. I mean, it's awesome what he's created out of nothing, and I will say that like he something I learned from him is like investing in yourself, and he's somebody who found success, and he took the money and things like that and that success and he put it back into it, and he keeps working, and he does work really hard, and now he's created a brand that's, I mean, one of the biggest in the world. So
is that right?
It's just to be a part of that is, I mean, wow. He might be the biggest YouTuber now. I'm not really sure. I'm not part of that world anymore, but like I said, just to be a part of that for as long as I was is really special. It's cool. So.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
But, so I was in that video. Go find it. It's better than any of my stand-up.
So what do you
watch Mr. Beast videos.
What do you search out? Mr. Beast. on top of a mountain, on top of a hill?
24 hours
What
on
was
top
it?
of a mountain was the one I'm in. Yeah, yeah. And we
What
stayed at grandfather. Do what?
what do they search out? Mr. Beast?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no.
Yeah, you can search. The name of the video is 24 hours on top of a mountain.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So
search
what were you
that. It'll be
saying?
the
You
first
stayed at
thing.
you stayed at Grandfather Mountain?
Yeah, it's Grandfather Mountain in North Carolina, so it was a good time.
Cool.
Yeah, it was tough. I hiked up there. The video shows me carrying a pizza, and I did that. I climbed the mountain with the pizza. That is real. So
Sweet. So, kind of shifting, pivoting a little. So, a lot of the work that we do with the podcast and really the project in general now has kind of become this, life is complicated, but faith doesn't have to be. And knowing your story or knowing a lot of your story, I know that there are seasons where faith has been complicated. And so before we came on, I asked you, where are you now spiritually? How are things, and where do things stand? And you said that you still identify as a Christian. Um, well, I just lost you. Let's see if that comes back.
great, we're here.
Are you good?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
we're good. I don't know what happened. I could see you the whole time. I was just watching you.
It happens. It happens almost every episode. It's fine.
I was screaming at the camera. I was like, Ben Lee, it's dead air. Say something.
Yeah.
Say something.
Yeah. It's the reason why we're not in the production business. There was a day and time where that would have driven me crazy.
It's dead air.
Yeah. Now we just chuckle and move on.
Now you just bask in it.
But no, before we
Love
came
it.
on, you were sharing with me before we
Yeah.
came on that you do still would identify as a Christian. How did you say that? How did you? I asked you where you were spiritually. How did you define that?
Yeah, it's so tricky. I feel like like I believe at its core, like the fundamental things that make being a Christian be a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But agnostic is a word that gets thrown around, and it's not that I'm agnostic about like what it's more about like within Christianity I can be a little agnostic about like what does that really even mean sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up going to lots of different churches. I grew up going to Baptist churches, Methodist churches, like LGBT metropolitan churches. I was a youth pastor in an Episcopal church, and it's just I ran into a lot. I don't know. See, it's tricky. It's tricky.
It is. No, yeah.
And we all hate to like paint ourselves or put ourselves in a corner, and maybe that's where I'm at right now. But I do still believe I'm a Christian, and I think maybe I'm just not involved in the church. I have a personal relationship with God, and that's what I kind of lean on. And sometimes that's really active, and sometimes it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the church, will be there for me one day, but right now it's tough. I'm just kind of figuring that stuff out. Heck, I'm even just getting my life together, and I know, yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I don't know that the just getting our lives together is ever done.
Oh, it's not. Yeah, totally. I guess I'm at a point now where I could start to at least appreciate where I'm at.
Yes.
If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yes, it does. Yeah, I do know what you mean.
Where I can at least just take a moment and really, it's been a journey. I mean, I've called you for years in all different levels, working, delivering pizzas or doing this or in school. And, Yeah. So it's wild. But right now, as far as where I'm at in my faith, it's difficult to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So the kind of those core fundamentals of being a Christian, which we talked about before I hit
Hmm.
record. So when it comes to the person of Jesus, when it comes to the crucifixion, when it comes to the resurrection, those are the kind of, and I was telling you about my friend Brandon and I and some of our conversations. Faith can go, let me rephrase that. Theology,
Hmm.
people's belief structure and their thoughts on religion can go in a multitude of directions, but in Christianity specifically, what makes us uniquely Christian is the person of Jesus. And so I don't think it's unusual anymore. I don't think it's unusual this day and time for someone to identify. I don't think it's unusual for someone to identify as Christian but still not be exactly sure how they feel or where they stand on fill in the blanks, because you can go
Right.
in any direction you want to go. And I'm not even talking about with the institution of the church. I just mean in a person's kind of core beliefs. Um,
Yeah.
and I think a big piece of the project is gonna be this reset. It's working towards this reset of the salvation pieces of the person of Christ. Is
Yeah.
like life is complicated, things get messy, um, theology is all over the map depending on the person. Um, but this core, that kind of core piece of the Christian faith in the person of Christ, um, if indeed that's kind of our cornerstone, um, if the person of Christ is our cornerstone, we should be able to live together and work through other things, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I agree with that. Yes.
I don't know how often this is
I
breaking
think
up. It's a hard conversation to have
no.
incrementally. When can you hear me?
Yeah, I haven't lost you.
Okay, good.
It's only visually that's kind of yeah,
Okay,
but audio, I've got you. I heard everything.
sweet.
So yeah, no, I think yeah, to unpack that a little is like um, sorry, I've lost my train of thought now with that.
Just talking
But
about the person
I
of
think
Christ being that centerpiece, and then everything else around there to be able to have discussions and journey together.
yeah, I do believe when I say I'm a Christian, it doesn't I do probably should have Jesus like you say that foundational corner. That's something I should think about more. Um, I kind of think of it as these things like it's sort of like I almost take it for granted, like, whoa, this is what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the church for me, a lot of people grow up going to the church because their parents made them. And that's for a lot of people I know, that's something that they have a hard time kind of coming to grips with or understanding and being like, well, why should I believe this thing that, for me, it was very different. I made a choice eventually. I had exposed to church and I had a difficult childhood, and church for me meant a safe place.
Okay.
Whether growing up visiting my grandma, vacation Bible school, those kind of early things were really important as to like what God and church was, which
Mm-hmm.
was okay, these are like safe places. These are places where I could belong. And then, over time, as I got into, I want to say like sixth grade youth group, I found out about like a Bible study that watched The Simpsons and then they ate food after. That's the only reason I went to youth group at first was Simpsons and free food and to get out of the house Sunday nights. And ultimately what that was like it was a place for me to belong and me to go to, and just those little hooks I found community, and it became much more than the Simpsons and free food and getting out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So the next like 6 to 10 years, up to where me and you were at Hinton Center,
Mm-hmm.
what church and God meant to me, it was all I cared about. And it was, I dedicated, I was an intern in high school. I really loved the church and I loved going there and I loved being involved and I loved being active. But here's where I think things started to kind of go wrong for me. And, I started working in the church.
Yeah.
And one thing I told you before this was like, one thing now is like, I don't know if it's not so much like, I don't think the church is right for me. It's more like, I don't know if I'm right for the church. Or yeah, I think that's what I was saying. It's like, I don't know if right now. So what was great about that stuff, and even though it gave me a place to and I'm getting to a point, I promise.
Go. This is gold.
I was getting a lot of purpose. I think purpose is like what we all like strive for, and it really was what keeps us going. And it kind of, but the flip side of that was Christianity and God started to also create like an ego for me.
Okay.
I think the ego is something that I think Christianity and ego go great together. It's interesting. Like, I loved the praise. I loved getting attention and being considered, leading things. And I love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like comedy, when you finish and you do well and you get the like, that was great. Oh, even after a prayer, you give a good prayer, Ben, and you're like, man, that was a great prayer. Have you done that?
No, I'm a weirdo in that. I will duck and dip around. So like I'm not the guy that stands at the door so everybody has to pass by him to get out.
See, yes.
I'm the guy that slips out and tries to get away so that you aren't forced to
I think, and that's why you're in the right place.
A lot of that stuff.
Yeah. And I think for me as I got older, especially early 20s, for me, I had a hard time kind of where I didn't have, home anymore to worry about. Home became comfortable in a safe place for me.
Yeah.
It became different. And what I was doing became about, I don't know. It was about feeding my own self. And I think that's eventually when I decided to kind of step away. And I think, I think me and the church, I just think we have different ideas about, I think youth ministry is amazing. And for me, that was like so core to like who I am. And that's the only reason sometimes I feel like I'm a decent person, is because youth ministry gave me the tools to handle life. And I think, I've seen churches with tons of money in the world that can't give their youth that, a place to be. All that to say, yeah, I think spiritually it's like I have a personal relationship with God and Jesus, but I'm also like wary of letting it go to my head sometimes. And I don't know if any of that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
I think it's easy to be like.
Go ahead.
Oh, I think it's easy to be like, on the flip side too, where you've been a Christian, you're doing things right, you're or quote unquote right, you're praying, you're living righteously. That can go to your head, and it can become this. It can create an ego, and it really can, and especially when you're in a community that does it, and it becomes. People like to throw around the word bubble, but it's not that. I think there's just like more work to be done. And
It's like the old saying, people. It's interesting when Christians become proud of their humility.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it kind of leans into that little coin phrase.
Yeah,
kind of leans into what you're saying there. Is
great way of putting it.
It's like my friend Gabe Barrett. Man, Gabe is. You and Gabe would be fast friends, but so my friend Gabe moved to Honduras in order to be able to adopt some little girls. He was in Honduras on a mission trip, met a woman named Brandy who happened to be from the States. They fell in love. Brandy was in the adoption process, adopting these two little girls. Turns out Gabe had to move to Honduras to be able to be part of that process. And in the orphanage, they had like the children's side, but then they had a farm side. And so, yeah, my friend Gabe became a sweet potato farmer for 2 years on a farm in Honduras, so that he and his wife could adopt a couple kids. And but my point in that is, Gabe and I were talking one time, and it was the conversation was along these lines, and Gabe said to me, he said, when I realized something was a little off, is he kind of got sucked into the vortex, and he said, when I realized something was a little off, we would be out there on our hands and knees, digging potatoes out of the ground, and the guy beside me said, did you get your Bible study done this morning? Yeah, I did. Well, what time did you get up? All right, got up about 5, had a cup of coffee, read a few passages, and came on to work, Well, I got up, I was up at 4:30. And Gabe's like, maybe I need to be getting up at 4:30. So fast forward a day or week, a month, whatever, and then, hey, did you get up and do your Devo this morning? Yeah, what time did you get up? I got up at 4:30. Well, I got up at 4:15, and Gabe was like, there came this moment where I realized, like, I need to pump the brakes and back up from this thing and be like, where is God in this? Like, where is the honoring God? If it's about relationship, if it's about spending some time with God at some point in my day, why is this competition? It's not it's not like who can get the biggest gold star.
Sometimes it felt like, for me, I guess it felt like sometimes being a Christian, I had to be part of like a sports team. Like I was a fan. Like this was my team. I'm a Christian. Yeah. This is my Christian jersey. Yeah. And, we're going to meet every Sunday for wings and sing, Lord, I lift your name on high. And we're going to just give each other high fives. And we rock, dude. Look, our church has a drummer. We're awesome. And it's, and that's cool. But, I'm with you. I couldn't, it just didn't stick with me,
Yeah. So this word what you said was, it's not so much that you think that the church isn't right for you, but that you're not right for the church.
Yeah. I mean, at least
pretty profound. Like, can we unpack that a little?
Yeah. Absolutely. One of my there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I think it's starting to change. The idea of like what the church looks like is starting to change. I think the pandemic helped that in a way. I think the church is coming to grips with like social issues, which in a way that it's not really had to finally confront its own like mortality about. I think one of the biggest things for me in the church right now is like, where does mental health play in the church? And that's one thing I think a lot of times can be forgotten about or not dealt with or not. That's part of it, am I mentally healthy for the church? And I don't know. Also part of that is, some of that, like the ego thing, like I told you about. And it's like, I don't know. I worry if I go back, how quickly I would just, shoot up, the love and like all that, especially when you're like, oh man, they want to get you new. You're a new member. Oh man, you're going to be the center of attention. And it's why I'm not like rushing out to do comedy. It's like, I know those things, I know I live for it because I didn't get that attention when I was a kid or like that, those needs emotionally met, and so I just have a lot of like I don't know, confliction, I guess, about going to the church. I don't, a lot of people, it's not necessarily what the church is doing for what can it do for me, but it's like, I don't know if I have anything for the church. I really don't. Yeah. time or money. I definitely don't have. And I miss the community a lot, but again, it does feel like there's something off. And I find community in other places. I've always just been somebody who I like the heathens.
Yeah, yeah, I'm kind of prone to the heathens myself. Um, but I think that this idea of community and the ecclesia, the in the original, the church is community.
Yeah.
I mean, in before we muffed it up and everything became what it is in the West, it is community. It is that knowing and being known. It's this. I mean, it's the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups, the downs, the ins, the outs, the rights, the lefts. That portion of what we call church, maybe not the church, but just church, right? So
in general, yeah.
Church to me is a verb, not a noun.
Right.
And we could talk for days on the inherited church and go through all that stuff. But in the actual body of believers, of those who identify as Christians, I think that we are living in a time. Most of the old timers that I've talked to said 67 and 68, 1967 and 1968 was the only other time in their lives that they remember our society being this divided and this polarized.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're living in, you can choose a hot button topic. It doesn't matter, dude. You can choose anything. And we are, as a society, we are more divided and more polarized than any time in my lifetime, for sure.
Yeah.
And the trouble is, you remember the old Dave bit? You might be one of the few humans on Earth that will probably know what I'm talking about. In the Radio City, in the long edit, when he's talking about how I have some friends and it's like, I can't say the word. But he said it, and no, I think you're an idiot. No, you're an idiot. No, you're an idiot. But at the end of the day, we're still friends. I can't tell you how often I think of that bit. In today's society and in today's culture and in the context, specifically being a person of faith who tries to draw in as many people as I can to the love of God in Christ, a lot of that work is staying at the table, and that's lost in our society. So the polarization and the separation, this it's like, if you're not with me, you're against me, and you're my enemy. It's kind of like this mindset that our culture has taken on.
Yeah.
And I think I hear what you're saying, like, not the noun church, but the verb church. We got to become people who are willing to stay at the table. And at the end of the day, not even to change one another's thought processes or minds or stances on any given topic, but to remain in that authentic relationship where you have space and time to be you, and I have space and time to be me, and certainly there'll be things that we disagree on, but we can still love each other,
Right. Yeah.
I don't think that should be provocative or unusual.
Yeah.
I think that should be the norm.
Yeah. What's so crazy about that time is just, I think it's tough. I don't know why we I'm sort of one of these people and just like, we don't need an opinion on everything. And what became hard too about the church, or, about just the people around me and, who I've seen for decades, at this point. I think what some people had a tough time with was not necessarily that they disagree, but just the gap in how differently we're interpreting events. And it really can make it difficult when you're like, we're living the world completely different, But hold that thought. I'm gonna grab my computer's gonna die. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. My charger's right here. I'm gonna
grab it. Yeah, do it, dude.
So let's do this. Here we go. It's dead air, Ben.
It's plenty fine, dude. This is what
tell some jokes.
This is what the people come to see.
So one thing you said though that reminded me, it was like authenticity, and I think that's something the church has lost, or just us maybe as people, especially Christians, is authenticity. And it's tough to say we love each other, and like we still love each other after that, but there's so much pressure. Like when you go to the church, there's so much pressure on us, and because there's so much shame built in to how we might be doing in our life and how it might come across, especially with our peers in the church. And I don't know why it's that way when it should be the complete opposite. We constantly, I remember hearing all the time growing up, like, come as you are. When have we ever come as we are?
Yeah.
Never. And maybe I should take my own advice, in that way, but it's just the church, for me, maybe even broader than the church, but just Christianity hasn't felt like a place for me to come as I am. And that's something that I think that as Christians we could work on to make it more of an accepting place, to get back to kind of what I was saying was like the church for me was a place I felt purpose and I belonged, and I think that's something we can all do. It's just authenticity.
And that I think in order to do that, it takes those both within and without. It takes those who have stepped away. It takes conversations like these. It takes people who do love each other. So like I can say with 1,000%, like, I love you. And and if I were doing any type of ministry in Atlanta, I would be elated if you showed up. No matter what you brought with you, or how, it didn't matter what that day or season held. I think part of the work of the project is getting back to this concept that, like, life and all of these nuances are complicated.
Yeah.
But the core principles of the Christian faith are not.
Right.
And really, Christianity, when you take out all the bull crap that man has kind of heaped on it, if you profess to be a Christian, you're about a half a click off already.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
You have to be a little kooky when you take out the cultural context of North America. If you believe that a teenage girl that had never been with a man in her life got pregnant,
yeah,
you got to be a half a click off. And if not only that, but a teenage girl that had never been a man with her life got pregnant, and the baby was fully human but fully God. Right?
Yeah.
Pretty far out stuff.
It's out there. It's you would be like, which comic book is this? I need
pretty far out stuff, right? And so then, and that's even before, like, the manger story, and then the lost years that we really don't know anything about except the one time in the temple, and then you get to like the earthly ministry and the miracles and all of those things that took place, but then they kill him, but then he doesn't stay dead, but then he shows up repeatedly, almost in I mean, the whole concept of our core belief system in the person of Christ is, sad to say, it's kind of almost been lost in Christianity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's become the expectations and the do's and the don'ts and the rules and the regulations and this and that and all the other stuff. And somehow we've gotten way, way beyond just kind of these simple, basic truths about the person of Christ.
Yeah, I think that's, when it's funny that you do like put it that way, because it is something I almost just, again, like some of those things you take for granted. It's just like, I know these things, but I don't think about it. And I don't really take the time to appreciate and just like digest it and process how basically like how wild a thing you're saying, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's because now I'm just like, well, yeah, but I have an iPhone. Like this is, but have you seen this thing? Cool. 3 days. This lasts for 6 days on one charge. I don't know. It's because I mean, everything around us is a miracle, and I don't know if that makes what Jesus did that much less, like, I don't know if that's what's going on. And we're just like, all right, well, put it on TikTok and we'll talk. But like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if life's just become this great and we just don't even think about how, just how magnificent that happening is. Whereas, I think what you're saying is really smart, because that's ultimately the part that gets forgotten,
And it's the basis of everything.
Sorry, go ahead.
If we identify as Christians, it is the core. He, not it. He is the core of our entire faith system.
Yeah.
And he gets lost in all the other. He gets lost in all the other stuff.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I guess to sum up everything, like, when people are like, what do you believe, and things like that, I try to just be as, as brief as I can when I say, I'm sorry if I'm messing up this scripture. It's been years. But like, it's like Jesus was asked, like, what's the most important commandment or law or something? And he's like, love God above all else and love your neighbor. Was that it? Or like love each other.
Yeah. Love your yourself.
And he said, that's it. That's pretty much it. That's the most important one. He did say that was the most important one. Okay. That's what stuck in my head. And all right, that's great. It was a great memo, and I can live by that. And I think we forget that part all the time. He said that's the most important one. I don't know.
Yeah, my friend Brooke says, love God, love people.
Yeah, that's great. Even better, even quicker.
Yeah. Love God, love people. Just be a good human. Like, try your best to stay in love with God, and try to love people. But so, just sitting here, like, as we're talking, I would love to, and we may do it like first episode of next season if you're down. I don't know how that would work on here, but I would love to like get a panel of 3 or 4 or 5 of us.
Yeah.
And have an extended conversation around a lot of this. I think it could be extremely encouraging I know it would be extremely helpful and encouraging to me, but I think it could be encouraging to a whole lot of people who may choose to listen to it at some point. there's so often that we don't see ourselves the way that others see us. Um, I'm incredibly proud of you. Like
Oh,
no,
thanks.
knowing you at different ages and stages and phases. The one constant is you have always been true to you. Like you've always been what you see is what you get, man. There's no pretense. I am what I am, and to see you happy and healthy and well makes
Thanks, man.
me incredibly happy, and you give me hope in that way, dude. Give me incredible hope. So
I couldn't be happy without you, my friend. So that you're part. Seriously, you're part of it.
Yeah.
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 Look, it's great. I promise.
Yeah. So if people want to connect, where do they find you? Like, what do they Instagram? How do they find you?
Yeah, I'm more or less keeping everything at. You could use at Mike Horn, Horn is my last name, Mike Horn,
Okay.
Instagram and TikTok, and go check out a couple of my stand-up clips, like them. That would help so much. Just share that, it's if you like it, if it makes you laugh a little.
Yeah.
Other than that, you can hear all about our weight loss journey at Shirts in the Pool. We're on all the Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram. It's a great place. I highly recommend checking our Instagram. You can see some of our before and after pictures. Me and him together, tank bikes like crazy now. And we're best friends. You're going to love the podcast. Check it out at Shirts in the Pool.
Yeah, at Shirts in the Pool is actually really, really good. And the Instagram page's account is entertaining.
Yeah, we have some stand-up from me and him. Like I said, before and after pictures. There's a couple jokes or like clips, and sometimes we'll post like what we're eating. I used to have like I don't think it's there anymore, but I did one of those like healthy meals, but I used like gravy, and I made this really healthy meal with breakfast gravy, and I did it. I lost weight.
So, and then do you have a website? How do you let people know where you're gonna be performing? Where you
Stand up?
Yeah.
Just keep an eye on my Instagram right now. I don't have a website. Like I said, right now I'm just like kind of writing. I'll be at Laughing Skull next Monday, actually, so I guess that'll be in time for this to be out. But
Sweet.
Other than that, yeah, just keep following me and keep your eyes out for me, and I'll be around.
That we have a pretty high number of people in the metro Atlanta area, so it'd be super cool if they could get out to see
Sweet.
You. Yeah.
Yeah, please check me out. I love Punchline's great too, and
Yeah. So if you're our people and you do run on with Mike, make sure you go up and introduce yourself. Let him know that you are our people. He gives the best.
That would be great. If you came
hugs.
up to a show and told me you are,
I'll get you a good warm Mike Horn hug. Yeah. All right, dude.
I miss hugging you, man.
Yeah. Oh, it's coming. We're way behind on Dave's shows. I was so stoked this year. So it turns out here in a couple weeks, Dave's going to be in Atlanta, and I've got to go down. I'm doing a wedding. You know Hayden? Do you know Hayden? Our friend Hayden.
And Grant.
I'm sure you all have met, like at Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Are you there?
You're doing yeah, I can hear you. He's doing a wedding here.
No. So you know our friend Hayden, like from the Dave
Hayden.
shows.
Sorry, not
Hayden.
Grant. Hayden. Yes, of course. He's getting
Hayden
married.
Martin.
Yes. Hey, Hayden.
Oh, this thing.
I'm sorry.
Time is really frustrating.
It's okay.
Yes. So Hayden Martin. You know Hayden Martin? Do you remember Hayden?
Hayden Martin. Yes.
So Hayden is getting married in a couple weeks, like 3 weeks. And it just so
he's getting married at the Dave show.
After Hayden's wedding is Dave in Atlanta. And so I thought, man, this is going to be gold. We'll get tickets. I'll come down. I'll do the wedding, stay over a couple days, visit friends and family, catch Dave, then fly back. Well, that's our VBS. and so
Oh
the whole
no!
Dave plan was thwarted by Vacation Bible School. So
Vacation Bible School.
yeah,
What's the theme this year?
let's get this party started.
Let's get this. I like it. Okay.
You will actually love so the shirts. We're probably going to get in some trouble, like from our church or whatever. But the shirts are it's a picture of Jesus with headphones, and he's on the turntable. He's like mixing it up on the turntables.
I love it.
Yeah.
See, I think that is such a great just example. I know plenty of people who would be like, yeah, that is like you just said, you might get in a little trouble with your church, and that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm just like, if we can't be our authentic selves, then like I don't know what to do or who to be.
Yeah.
And I love that shirt. I think that's great.
Yeah. I'll have to get you one. And our children's director is awesome, and she's like, "What do you think about this?" And I was like, "That is freaking sick. We should do it."
I think that's great.
So Jesus DJing on the turntables and some super cool font. Let's get the party started. That's our theme for the year. And so so no Dave, but we'll have to catch up. I'll be back towards the end of July for another wedding, maybe.
Okay.
Just maybe
just
we
holler
can
at me,
plan
man.
it. Yeah.
Like I said, I got a house right here next to Lakewood Amphitheater, so just hit me up, look me up.
Sweet.
It's lots changed, man. It's a great place to be. Yeah.
Really?
We'll just hang out. Come hit me up. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll go hit the belt line. It'll be great.
Sweet. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming on. I will keep you in the loop. I'm serious about the panel. That would be incredible if you're down
Always
for
happy
that.
to join. Yeah.
Sweet. All right, brother. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks again, man. This was great.
Yeah. See you.
See you, buddy.